Okay, so what would I do with Doctor Who? This is a question I think most fans have pondered throughout their time in the fandom, and certainly something I have gone over in my head over and over and over again countless times. This video has had countless revisions over the years. I made this as a little TikTok video quite a while back, and a lot of my friends said they wanted to see a more full version of my ideas, and that video went into production. But over time, my ideas change, and what I want to do with Doctor Who has changed a lot over the years. So even though this is a version of what I want for Doctor Who finally put into recording, this might not be the definitive version of my Doctor Who. So, who would I want to see play the Doctor? If you've watched some of my past videos, you'll actually have already seen a fair few of these names crop up. I've always had a few different actors floating around in my head to play the role. I think, Joanna Lumley, it would be great to see play the role. I know I've already seen Joanna Lumley play the Doctor, but just her appearance in Curse of the Fatal Death, to me, is like the definitive female interpretation of the Doctor. I've also, over the years, Hugh Laurie in House, I think seeing that kind of dark and more twisted interpretation of the Doctor would be absolutely just quite a sight to see. I've always wanted the show to go into a darker perspective with the Doctor. Ralph Little, over the years, I think I've seen him as, if I were to cast maybe a younger man to play the Doctor, I think Ralph Little would be definitely a go-to name. And after recently seeing him in Taskmaster and watching some more stuff he's appeared in, Rhys Shearsmith definitely is an actor I'd love to see portray Doctor Who and what he would bring to that character, not only as a performer but also as a writer as well. I think maybe seeing his take on Doctor Who would be amazing. However, if you have been a fan of my channel for a while, you will know that there is one actor who I have always wanted to see play the Doctor. And now we're at kind of a crossroads with the show, with Ncuti Gatwa recently leaving and us not having a definite 16th Doctor. I would really like to see Alan Davis play the Doctor. I've wanted to see Alan play the Doctor ever since I first saw him in Jonathan Creek, but I mean, he's said in the past he'd love to play Doctor Who.
Now the thing is, right, I would do Doctor Who because Russell T Davies is writing it.
A terrific writer.
Who is Britain's nicest man, best writer, and he wrote Bob and Rose. And so I sent him an email saying, if you're really stuck and you can't get who you want, I'll fill in, but I'm not wearing that hat.
And I think he'd be a great pick for the role. I think to play the Doctor at the moment, you really need a household name, someone who would gather an audience of mainstream viewers, i.e. not Doctor Who fans. Especially after the recent drop in viewing figures in the past few years, we've kind of gone through a phase of, I don't think the audience have liked the picks for the past few Doctors. As much as I love Capaldi, I don't think he struck up much of a mainstream viewership because he was an older Doctor, and the two Doctors before that had been really popular young men. So I don't think mainstream viewers stuck around for Capaldi. Whittaker, I don't think mainstream viewers enjoyed the writing. I know there was kind of a big increase in viewing figures at the start of her series, but it went down fast. I don't think mainstream viewers, A, were interested in seeing a female Doctor, or were interested in the stories that were being told. I think viewing figures did kick back up for Tennant, but dropped quick for Ncuti's era because it was on, in America it was on Disney Plus, and over here I just don't think it was received very well, and I don't think he was received very well either. So my choice for the next Doctor is Alan Davis, who's already a bit of a household name in the UK after appearing on QI and Jonathan Creek for years. I think he'd be a good pick. He'd be quite a cheap pick, I think, but it'd be good for especially a UK audience. He's already a bit of a name. An incarnation that plays the fool acts stupid to lure his opponents into a false sense of security before revealing he's actually been in charge of the situation for the entire time. I can see his Doctor being a bit like Sylvester McCoy mixed in with a little bit of Tom Baker. His opponents would underestimate him until it's too late and the Doctor has already defeated them without their notice. his Doctor wouldn't be Space Jesus, which has been kind of a fault of the Doctor's character ever since the Tennant years. But instead, like the Doctors in the classic series, he'd just be a quirky space traveller from an alien world. His costume, I'm thinking you'll be seeing it on screen now. He did a trailer for the drama channel for when they were repeating Jonathan Creek. I think something like this would actually be a really good Doctor costume, but maybe change some elements up for his stories. I don't mean like they did with Shooty. I don't want a new costume every episode. I want something more like Tom Baker. A set look in which you occasionally add components or take away components. Maybe change out the jacket every now and then for a coat, or give him a waistcoat every now and then, maybe a scarf, a hat. I think his costume should switch up every now and then and definitely not be a set thing, but it needs a distinctive and familiar silhouette. Companions. I want a companion team like we had in Series 10 and the classic Series 12. I think 3 are too many. I think we experienced that during the Jodie Whittaker era. 3 companions are definitely too many. So I'm going to go with the classic kind of companion team of 2. One companion being from modern day 21st century Earth, and the second companion I'm envisaging being like a robot from the future who would, like the Doctor, have knowledge and understanding of some of the locations they're going to and visiting, you know. He would know of the Daleks, he'd know of the Cybermen. Maybe he wouldn't be as familiar with these opponents as the Doctor, but he'd definitely have the knowledge to back it up. So Companion 1, Ellie, the human girl. Ellie is a normal girl from 21st century Earth, and we will see the story in the universe through her eyes. I always think Doctor Who works better when the story is told from the companion's perspective rather than the Doctor's. The Doctor isn't the main character of Doctor Who. Even though the show is named after him, at the end of the day, it is his adventures, but we should see it through the companion's eyes, through the companion's perspective, because that's what will make the universe feel more grounded. I think, you know, the more popular Doctor Who companions over the years have been, you know, Sarah Jane Smith, Rose Tyler, Donna Noble. These human characters who we experience the universe through their eyes, and we see the Doctor through their eyes. I also really want a companion character like Donna who would butt heads with the Doctor, who would argue against the Doctor if they don't feel like the Doctor's doing the right thing, or, you know, the iconic speech in the classic series of "Do I have the right?" The Doctor questioning, does he have the right to destroy all the Daleks? I want things like that. I want a companion-Doctor relationship where they're willing to stand off against each other rather than being on the same side. And Companion 2, Matthew, from the other world. Matthew is a robot from the future who joins the Doctor and Ellie on their adventures around time and space after they save him in episode 2 of the first series. I think this companion definitely would be the smart one who would have the Doctor's knowledge and understanding, and maybe this would be the companion who agrees with the Doctor more. Even though Ellie is kind of the companion we follow the series through, Matthew, the robot companion, might be the companion who the Doctor agrees with more, even if they don't have as close of a relationship. So, Doctor Who has become iconic for 2 elements, TARDIS and the sonic screwdriver. And these elements are definitely sticking around for my version of the show. I'm going to continue with the 13th Doctor's box because it's my favourite, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm going to add some battle damage and scuffs to the TARDIS, like the box had in the classic series. I'm not going to go full on War Doctor, but definitely like the examples you're seeing on screen right now. I want the box to look worn and weathered. I want the box to look like it's been around. I think sometimes, especially in the Matt Smith era, the TARDIS does look a bit too fresh. Another element I'm adding, I want the sonic screwdriver to revert back to how it looked in the classic series, but with a modern aesthetic to it, with a modern skills and technology we have in prop making, maybe doing something a bit more detailed to the prop, like you're seeing on screen. I was never a fan of the TV remote. The Sonic TV remote looks stupid. And, you know, I think maybe it's time we return to something more classic series looking. As much as I was a fan of Tennant's Sonic and Matt Smith's Sonic, Capaldi's, and to a lesser extent Jodie Whittaker's, I think the Sonic Screwdriver really kind of needs to revert back to looking like a tool and being treated like a tool rather than the Doctor's very own magic wand. TARDIS console room. This is actually quite simple because I'm going to bring a design in from the comics and from the books. I just want something plain and simple and kind of small, actually. I don't like what the TARDIS looks like at the moment. I think it's too big and too sterile. But I like the white walls and the roundels, and I want to keep that but shrink it down. I actually want a live action version of the TARDIS from the new version adventure novels and the comics. This kind of, the walls being slanted and on an angle, and the roundels being sunken into the walls, the door in that kind of recessed corner. I want this, but with modern set design. I think this would look beautiful in live action, and definitely this is the TARDIS which I want for Alan Davis's Doctor. My aesthetic for the show is something that I have toyed with over the years. When I was a much younger Doctor Who fan, I think I wanted the show to be a bit more like Star Wars. However, as I've grown older, my taste in aesthetic and my tastes in science fiction have changed over the years. If you've been a fan for this channel for a while, you will know that I have been writing a few of my own science fiction short stories, and they very much delve into horror. I'm a big creepypasta writer, I'm a big sci-fi fan, and I like sci-fi horror. And I think the best stories of the past few years have been when Doctor Who is willing to make itself a bit scary. I want to make kids hide behind the sofa because they're scared of Doctor Who, but they still want to watch it because the show is engaging to them. I think, you know, the Cybermen in World Enough and Time are amazing. A Doctor Who story I've always wanted to tell is the Cybermen through social media and what social media is like with the Cybermen. I think you can make the show scary, but you can make the show watchable by having the Doctor there, who is this kind of friendly and safe figure. And if you think that would clash, if you're out there thinking you need a scary Doctor for a scary Doctor Who, I think you need to go back and watch the Tom Baker years. The early Baker years showed you can have a kind of fun, bumbling Doctor in this scary universe. And I think if done properly, that's the direction I want to take Doctor Who in. Story structure. I'm going to go back to how it was in the Jodie Whittaker era. I want a 10-episode series. 8 isn't enough, and I think with the way TV shows are at the moment and with production costs, 12 nowadays is just too many. So we're going with a 10-episode series made up of 5 2-part stories, because I love a good cliffhanger, and I think Doctor Who has always benefited from being made up of multiple part stories. So, as I said, 10 episodes of 5 2-part stories. Monster of the Week, I'm going to keep with that. I'm going to keep with a Monster of the Week episode structure, but with an overarching series plot. And I don't just mean Series 1 has overarching plot A, Series 2 has overarching plot B. No, I want an overarching story plot which unfolds from the Doctor's first story to his regeneration. What do I want that to be? I think Doctor Who should have a more Thanos-like villain, which we build up to. A villain who appears in the series finale of the Doctor's first series. The Doctor can't defeat them, and we see this villain come back, and they are an overarching threat until this Doctor's regeneration. And this grand overarching villain, I want it to be something like Cathulu. I want a dark god, which is what I was hoping we were going to get from the Pantheon, but it hasn't quite worked in my opinion. I want Cathulu. Cthulhu is a public domain villain, and I think, yeah, why not bring a more Lovecraftian flavour to Doctor Who? And I think you can revamp him and rework him to fit in the Who-universe. Cthulhu is an amazing character, and I think would be perfect for a Doctor Who villain. When it comes to this Doctor's tenure, I'm thinking instead of it being a 3-seriesr, which we've been having for the entirety of the new series, it feels like, I want to give this Doctor space to breathe and space to have a character arc. In my mind, I'd really like a Doctor and companion duo that can stick around for a while. Maybe we finally get a Doctor who can do a Tom Baker-like run. You know, we could get 7 series out of this, and we actually, you know, flesh out the characters, flesh out our TARDIS team, flesh out the universe. I think audiences really want. I think mainstream audiences do want Doctor Who. It's just not been done properly for them. But I think a Doctor and companion who can really set themselves in like the pop culture landscape and, you know, make it kind of a cultural moment for the show like it was in the Tennant years. I think we really need a Doctor and a companion who can stick around for that. So that is what I would do with Doctor Who. And if you have any further questions, please put them down in the comment section below. I'm gonna try and do a second part to this video where I actually try and answer some people's questions on my version of Doctor Who. So this video has kind of been a long time in development, but it's finally out. I'm sorry I've been away from the channel for a while. I've had things going on, I've been working on other projects. But hopefully, now I'm back, hopefully things will be smooth sailing for a bit. So, as I said, if you have any questions about this new era, leave them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you. So long for now.
Subscribe if you enjoyed and want to see more content in future.